Hey cool cats and kittens, this is Lonk the Sane. Good to have you back for another Letter Thursday. And today I am going back to the Valkyrie well once again. I know I've covered Valkyries several times on this channel, but hey, we got a new patch, we've got some new tools to use, so we might as well take a look and see if this is still going to be a competitive deck in the new metagame. So let's dive into a few matches here and see how the Valks do. And our opponent Frith, they are playing a red-purple aggro deck. It looks like Weeps and Freaks, which is a deck that was come up with by Kishkazan, utilizing Discs of Circadia. So I put the Cairn Henge in front of that Strigoi Pup, because whatever I play in front of it, I don't know what my opponent's second color is just yet, and if it's blue, we could be facing a Honed Edge, which is very popular in the metagame right now. So I want to at least be able to trade with it if that's the case. But as you can see there, the color is going to be purple. And they burn the Racer and Shadow because they can't use it to trade. So we'll take out the Strigoi Pup, burn one of my Honed Edges, and I'll put the Valkyrie Tough, and then play out the Honed Edge right away. I'm fairly certain this is the Shinobi of Fire, because that's what this build utilizes, but if this is some variant of it, it could be a Shinobi of Smoke or something like that, so I don't really want to trade, so that's why I put out the Honed Edge right away. And indeed it is the Shinobi of Fire, so we're going to get hit with a Flame Scroll, take a few points of damage. Alright, I'm going to trade the Demolition Speedway there. I kind of forgot about the fact that our opponent's on day, so we would have been able to trade anyway. But at least now I can play out a Frecky Sidecar as well, get in for a couple extra points of damage. Alright, that's a Panic Raider. So our opponent's just kind of digging for an answer here. And they don't really come up with one, so we're going to get in for a bunch of damage. And then a little bit more, because we can play Bridge Raid Troll next to the Frecky Sidecar. And I probably should not have put that Bridge Raid Troll there for this exact reason. Vulcan Brand on the Racer and Shadow, so everything gets blown up. I probably should have played the Valkyrie Tough next to the Sidecar, because I can get that right back with the Ingrid Stormdaughter, which we have in hand. So our board is clear, and normally we'd be just kind of spinning our tires at this point, but Ingrid Stormdaughter is going to give us new life, bring back a couple of Valks. Unfortunately, it cannot bring back that Bridge Raid Troll, because the Troll might be an honorary Valkyrie, but it's not actually a Valkyrie. So the opponent's going to try and stay aggressive here. They can put the Shinobi of Flame over away from us to try and get in for that little bit of damage, but we've got the Sidecar, we've got a Valkyrie Tough, so we're going to get in for lethal right here and now. So we were able to kind of outsize the aggressive deck. The Honed Edge definitely helped us out, and even though our board was wiped, our opponent was basically out of gas at that point, and then we were able to drop the Ingrid Stormdaughter, fuel up, and get in for that last bit of damage. And that's what's nice about the Frecky Sidecar. It's a great card to be able to bring back, especially when you can play it strategically and get a few extra points of damage in. So in that case, we were able to use the Sidecar to get in for lethal. So yeah, overall, this deck matches up pretty good against aggro decks. It struggles a little bit more against red-blue in particular. Red-blue is kind of tricky for this deck to beat. But if you have the right pieces, the Bridge Raid Troll and the Ingrid Stormdaughter for sure, this can do really well against aggro. And I would say the toughest matchup is against the grindier mid-range decks, which fortunately there don't seem to be too many of at this point. So I think this deck is pretty well positioned in the metagame. It can do well against aggro, some mid-range decks, and definitely a very good deck to play against control. So, and we saw right there, that this deck can do well against aggro. So that was a good win for us. Let's take a look now at a matchup against a mid-range deck. So in game number 2 here, my opponent Destroyers is playing a blue-orange mid-range deck, and you can see we've got a really nice curve going here. We've got stuff to do turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have Ingrid in our hand, so we can trade aggressively if we want to with our Valkyries and be able to bring it back with Ingrid. Dust Devil, so there's kind of a desert theme going here. Okay, I played the Leprechaun's Coin, get the Frecky sidecar going. They're unlikely to have early removal for it, so might as well get that online. But Stone Mother is going to, say otherwise about it. That's a tough card to get around. But I will play out the Valkyrie tough and run into it. Just trying to chip away at it. They don't have any other threats on the battlefield, and yep, here comes a Tailroot Worm, so yeah, that's a big old 7/7. So that's going to have to be dealt with. Or if you're playing Valkyries, you usually deal with big threats by just kind of staying aggressive and playing around it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Move over the sidecar. I attack around the desert so I don't take a point of damage. There's a Thunderclap, so that's going to hurt us. But again, thankfully we have the Ingrid Stormdaughter, so we can bring cards back if we so choose. Get in for 3 with the Troll. Out comes Ingrid.
The storm breaks you.
Alright, we have a Giant Stairway. So we have a very huge card advantage right now, which is usually not a position that Valkyries is used to being in. But here comes the Kraken. It's going to lock us down. We can't even use the Troll to get out of the way. So I'm going to use a Giant Stairway to take out the Stone Mother. But now I have to be really careful here. We're getting low on life. So I'm going to use Ingrid here to take out that Kraken. And then, surprisingly, I'm going to use the Horn and actually not use it to swing it for lethal. I'm going to use my mana to hop over, take out the Tailroot Worm, play Frecky Sidecar, and then play out Valkyrie Tough. Get in for a whole bunch of damage here. Opponent hits us with the cat and then concedes because they don't really have anything else in hand that they can really do to stop us. So, yeah, Valkyries. Surprisingly resilient. We had huge card advantage in the mid game there against our opponent, and there was just really not much they could do to overcome it. That's the great thing about Ingrid's Stormdaughter, is bringing those cards back can give you a form of card advantage. You can have stuff to do in hand when otherwise, Valkyries would kind of be starting to run out of gas. And that also demonstrates just what a good, strong minion Ingrid is. Just a 4/3 with Alpha Strike. And with our Giant Stairway and our other enchantments, we're able to attack into the opponent's minions and take them out. Use her as basically a giant battering ram. And yeah, that was a good, tricky win for this deck. The Troll, we weren't able to use it because of the Kraken, but Ingrid just big and tough. Tough for the opponents to deal with if they don't have any direct removal in hand. So yeah, another good win for this deck. Let's see what else it can do. Our third and final match is going to be against Dragib, playing blue-yellow control. And since our opponent's showing yellow, that means we're kind of want to lean more on the beatdown type of plan. Our opponent's playing the controlling deck, so we want to try and go as fast as possible to take him out. Unfortunately, no Honed Edge in hand. That would help tremendously, but we hit a Cairn Henge there with the Rainbow's End. Now it's a Bulwark on the Clay Effigy, so our opponent's just kind of looking to draw a card. And we hit another Cairn Henge for our turn. Get in for 2. Play out Valkyrie Tough. And that's a Demolition Speedway, so we've just drawn 3 enchantments in 2 turns, thanks to the Rainbow's End. That's an Ensnaring Serpent, but fortunately we drew that Demolition Speedway. So we'll burn the Stairway here. We'll trade with the Ensnaring Serpent, play out the Cairn Henge, get in for an extra point of damage with the Tough. Alright, Mesa Libre, that's going to lock us down, but fortunately we played out that Cairn Henge, so we'll be able to survive an attack. Right, we have 2 Bridge Rate Trolls, so I burn 1. Then I just play Storm Daughter's Chosen here. Get that online. But here comes Aaliyah. So of course that's going to take out the tough, but this is another moment where I'm just thankful that Bridge Rate Troll exists. Otherwise that Aaliyah would be a real problem, so play out the Troll. Let's hop on over with the Chosen. Take out Aaliyah. Get in for pointed damage as well. Alright, there's a Harvester. That's a card I haven't seen much of lately. Still a good card though, but hop over with the Bridge Rate Troll. Take out the Clay Effigy. Put out Frecky Sidecar. Because, believe it or not, we actually have lethal in hand right now. So our opponent needs to Wonder Drug to save themselves, but instead they choose to play out the Twin. And not surprisingly, I would be feeling pretty secure in this position as well. But we do have the lethal since we do have the Frecky Sidecar. So there's the Horn. Out comes Magnus. So that'll trim down the Harvester enough, and then it's just more troll antics. Move stuff around, get in for a couple attacks, hop over the troll, and finish off the opponent. So we were able to swing lethal out of nowhere there, thanks to the Allfather's Horn. Really didn't show off too much of the new stuff there. Just kind of wanted to show that Allfather's Horn is really, really good. I know there's some debate with how players are crafting this deck right now, whether or not the Horn should be in there or if it should just be a more aggressive plan with Ingrid Stormdaughter. I definitely think there is still a case to be made to run 2 copies of Allfather's Horn in this deck, especially against the control decks. You can just still swing for lethal out of nowhere. I don't think the 2 are mutually exclusive, but we'll get into more of that once we get into the deck. So that was a good win against the control deck. We saw how this does against all 3 archetypes, aggro, mid-range, and control. So let's go ahead now and talk about the deck itself. So in conclusion, the Valkyries, they're still really, really good. The new additions in here, Ingrid Stormdaughter, you saw just exactly how good she can be. Her ability to bring Valkyries back from the Boneyard is invaluable to this deck. It allows you to trade aggressively early on with the aggro decks and then recover almost immediately. It also allows you to recover from something like a Misanthropia or another board wipe that the opponent might have. So, and on top of that, she's just a 4/3 with Alpha Strike. And with all the enchantments in here, she can be really, really tough to trade with another minion. So your opponent's pretty much going to have to use some form of direct removal to get rid of her. So, yeah, Ingrid, very impressive, very good. And it's not that she was a bad card before last season, it was just that she was too expensive. 7 mana was, 1 mana too much. You didn't want to go past 6 for Valkyries. So she is definitely very playable in this deck now. The other new addition here, Honed Edge. This has been a key card in aggressive decks everywhere. We talked about it last week with red-blue aggro. Definitely good in here as well. It allows us to make trades that otherwise we wouldn't be able to. It also allows us to keep our minions alive in cases where they would be traded or they would get smashed by the opponent's minions. So Honed Edge has felt very reasonable in here as well. Definitely serves a lot of uses. And also making it back into the deck is the Frecky Sidecar. As Logic's build got more popular, Frecky Sidecar kind of disappeared from a lot of the Valkyrie builds last season, but I think it's definitely worth putting in the deck now, especially with the Honed Edge. You can potentially play this on turn 3 if you have the Leprechaun's Coin, or on turn 4. You can put out the Sidecar and play the Honed Edge in the same turn, and that keeps it out of ranges out of something like a Daring Trapezist or a Racer in Shadow to keep it alive and allow you to play a minion next to it. So yeah, Frecky Sidecar has been really good here. This is a great card to bounce back with Ingrid as well. So definitely very strong. And the rest is kind of the usual culprits. We have our mix of enchantments. I only put 11 in here because I have, a bunch of spells I want to play. Kind of on the low side for Rainbow's End. There may be a few too few in here, but so far 11 has been working out just fine. I've been able to go 11 and 5 with this as I'm climbing up the gold ladder. So I feel it's reasonable. And I did keep in the Allfather's Horn, like I mentioned earlier. There's some discussion, like I've seen it on Discord, as to whether or not there should be Allfather's Horn in the deck, or if it should lean more heavily on the Ingrid Stormdaughter. I think there's definitely a case to be made for keeping the Allfather's Horn, especially against some of the control decks. You can just kind of swing in for lethal, but there are times where you get into turn 4, turn 5, and end up burning the horn because you just have the beat down plan going and are able to just smash the opponent's face. I personally, I think the Allfather's Horn, I think Ingrid and Allfather's Horn serve two different purposes. Ingrid is good at recovering your board, regaining the card advantage, and the Allfather's Horn, like you saw in the last game there, is really good at allowing this deck to come out of nowhere and beat the control decks, especially when you still have something like Wonder Drug floating around. It allows you to get in before your opponent can really go over the top and start beating this deck down. So I think there's definitely a case to be made for Allfather's Horn, but we'll see going forward. But I'm going to keep playing with this deck for sure. This deck felt really good. I think it will be very solid in the metagame, as Valkyries have been for quite some time now. So yeah, this is definitely still a good deck and a lot of fun to play, especially with, the Bridge Raid Troll. A lot of fun, silly antics you can get into with the Troll. We saw some of that in the gameplay today too. And we didn't see much of Care Morning Wise, but she is a key card in here. There are some aggressive or mid-range decks that just can't really deal with her all that well, especially if you're able to drop a Sea Haven or Demolition Speedway on her. She can get in for a lot of damage really quickly. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and glad to see the Valkyries are, I would say, even better than they were last season, especially now that Ingrid Stormdaughter is in the mix. So this deck is a lot of fun. Definitely worth trying out if you want to climb up the ladder. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you for tuning in once again. I will leave a link to the deck list in the description below. You can check that out for yourself. You can also check me out on Twitter at Lonk. Check me out on Nephilim GG. I should have an article coming out next week. I will analyze the different matchups from the Cards for Humanity tournament. I'm waiting till after they play out the finals, after they stream that on 983 Media, before I, draw my final conclusions and whatnot. So that should be an interesting read for you as well. And that's going to be it for me today. I should be back next Tuesday. I don't know if I will be doing another Mythgard on Tuesday. My Twitch Tuesdays haven't been all that popular. I kind of want to diversify my content a little too, so it may very well be a Gwent video coming out on Tuesday. I've been getting into Gwent and enjoying it tremendously, so I may be trying that out a bit on Tuesday. But next Thursday, there will definitely be another Ladder Thursday, so watch out for that. And that's going to be it for me today, so I will see you guys next time.